What's up, guys? It's Josh back with Sobriety Wad. As always, if it's your first time, welcome. If it's not your first time, welcome back. On the road today, headed to Georgia to surprise visit my wife, Alexandra, that's head coaching, I might add, at a gym up there, CrossFit Borough, shout out. And, this has been on my mind a lot. These lessons are short, so I don't get to really extrapolate things, which is probably good. You guys are probably thankful for that. But essentially, this idea of the difference between surrender and motivation, and that's probably something that we'll pull a bunch of lessons out of moving forward because it's pretty deep. But the idea of motivation is all around us. Motivation is why we do what we do, or it's a way that we can think of it as. It's kind of it's like energy drinks. I heard a comedian one time, and they were talking about people that, drink 10 energy drinks a day and sit at a desk or sit on the couch. And it's like, what the fuck do you need all this energy for? It's kind of like that with motivation. It's there's never enough. We're always looking for something to make us feel like doing what needs to be done. And as addicts in recovery, one of the things that happens immediately upon cessation of our preferred substance is a complete loss of motivation. Now, some drugs and stuff are really specific to that. Like amphetamines, that's one of the things they do is give us that dopamine, which is connected to that motivation feeling, and removing them absolutely zaps that. So you're not even back to where you used to be, you're back worse off. But that's with every substance, really. I mean, I can remember when I was drinking, just knowing that I was going to drink as soon as I got off, I'd start to get excited an hour before I got off, or knowing I was going to a party and we were going to drink or whatever. And that feeling of anticipation and excitement would start to build, and that energy would come, and my mood would change, and all that happened without even imbibing. All that happened just with the thought that it was going to happen. Many of us, with using, it turned out to be that was our entire motivation. The only reason we got up, got in the car, ate, put on some clothes, all that was to go get drugs. We were completely motivated to do that. In recovery, or even in just abstinence, that's taken from us. The one reason we had to live is removed, and so it's really difficult at first to figure out to get motivated to do what we need to do in recovery, or to just find motivation outside of the motivation that comes with using. So we have a trick, we have a secret, we have something that's super powerful, man. And it's the way that we think of things, perspective. It's all perspective. So we have a different way of approaching it, and what's funny is they actually look the same from the outside. Someone who's operating out of motivation is looking the same as somebody who's operating out of this other principle, and that principle is surrender. So when it comes to motivation, what we're looking for is a feeling that, an excitement or a desire or a drive to do something we really don't want to do, to make us do it. So for me, Adderall or alcohol or something like that, that's kind of how it started. I didn't want to go to work anymore, so I'd drink a little and go to work, and it was now I could at least deal with work. I found some motivation. So what happens in the long run when you remove that, when you lose your motivation, then we start seeking out sources of motivation. But surrender is the answer to that. So what's the difference? Motivation is I'm so amped up, I'm excited about this, I can't wait to do this, something new, something exciting. Motivation is that feeling of going out of your way to buy flowers for your new girlfriend or whatever. Like, it's like, try and do that shit like 6 years later. It's not that you don't want to, but you don't want to as much. And motivation is closely linked, and that example is return, a return on investment. So it's like, I'm excited about doing this thing because I know I'm going to get something out of this. You know what I mean? Motivation is like self-centered. So, or that's how we try to motivate ourselves. So, even in the, I'll wait till later for that. But surrender is different. Surrender is like, I'll do the same thing without consideration or demand that I receive something for it, so this is what it looks like. I can build you up and build you up and build you up and explain to you how much stopping using will help you physically, will help you spiritually, will help you relationally and emotionally and mentally, and all the good things that are going to come from it. And I can get you all hyped up to go do it. We can go to a Tony Robbins seminar and get all pumped up about changing the world, and get home on a Sunday night and make all these checklists and all this stuff we're going to do, and fizzle out by Wednesday. Some people last longer. It really, I think, has to do with how many times you've been through it. Point is, there's never enough motivation, because we adapt, man. We adapt to everything. So the more motivation we get, the more motivation we need. And I kind of got in that cycle over the last couple of years of like, reading all these self-help books and these motivation books and listening to these podcasts. And then it got to where I realized I was doing this shit like 5 hours a day, and then not doing anything with the rest of the hours of the day. And I believe it's just like a drug. It makes us feel good, makes us excited, gets us all pumped up, gets us all emotional, but nothing really ever comes from it. And even if something does, it'll stop, and then we need more, and then we need better, and then we need the best-selling self-help book, but surrender is like, what, dude, fuck it. Like, it is what it is. It's the way it's going to be. It's the way it's always going to be. And I'm just going to do it because it's right. I'm not going to do it with expectations. So I'm going to get up. I'm going to make my fucking bed. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to do my meditation. I'm going to check my emails. I'm going to, whatever. I'm just going to do it just because fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, it's the right thing to do. Like, it's the way to live. I'm going to eat vegetables and shit because it's better for me. Like, I hate it, and I'd rather, do anything but that, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to exercise today. Not because I'm trying to make it to the CrossFit Games, or because I want a new girlfriend, or because I want to look good in a bathing suit, or whatever. I'm just going to fucking do it because it's right. Like, it's what I'm supposed to do. It's what my body needs. It's what my mind needs. And in fact, I think when I go, I'm going to try and help some people. I'm going to try and help some other people get better. It's shit like that. And it's not like, I'm doing this because I have this goal. I'm doing this because I want to be good at this thing, or whatever. It's just because it's fucking right, dude. Like, it's just the right thing to do. And I think that that addicts, like, are in a special place for that, because we hit the bottom. I mean, we hit the place where it's like, fuck it. We hit the place where everything's equal. That's what I think happens at the bottom. So there's no joy in anything for us. Everything becomes equal. Everything becomes the same. So what do I mean by that? It means using sucks, not using sucks. Being married sucks, not being married sucks. Eating cookies sucks, eating broccoli sucks. Like, fucking everything sucks. Everything's equal, A new car, whatever. A old car, whatever. Like, everything's fucking awful. And I don't think the goal is for everything to be awful, but I do think that there's some power in everything being equal. So what happens is, it's not that that I want everything to suck for everybody for them to realize this. It's that just happens to be what happens, you know. Doing homework is never going to equal heroin. But, so I guess what I'm saying is both of them will never be great. But with addiction and consequences and all that shit, both of them can be equally bad. Like, they both suck. I don't want to do either. And so what that does is that puts everything on an equal plane. And when everything's on an equal plane, then we can make better choices. So it's the same concept as, you know, in recovery we hear, like, it had to stop working. You know, I had to get to a point where it didn't work anymore, because as long as my drug or my substance solution was working, I'm not going to stop. Nobody started drinking because it didn't fix their problems. Nobody started using drugs because it didn't do something for them that they felt needed to be done. It was the solution, you know? So we're not going to stop until it's no longer that. You know, we're not going to stop until to do it is the same as to not do it. They both suck. The book says, I had reached a point where I couldn't imagine a life without using, and I couldn't imagine a life using, you know. Everything's equal. When everything's equal, we can make different decisions. So another way of thinking about this, and a way I think about it a lot, is like, you know, if you've been educated in like the Christian tradition, we'll talk about dying to self. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're talking about in recovery. We're talking about the death of the ego. And the thing that happens is when the ego dies, or when the ego is dying, everything is becoming equal. And, you know, we feel like everything sucks because we're still in ego, and we're looking at it from the ego's point of view. Any of you guys that have been through it know it's the life that you could have always dreamed of. Like, it's the most amazing thing that you could ever experience. And so I guess the sentiment here is, you know, if you're using, or if you're an addict, you're gonna die. If you don't recover, you're gonna die in your addiction. So you're gonna die. I mean, if you're in your addiction, you're halfway dead already, and you're gonna end up dying one day regardless. So it's like, no matter what, you're gonna die. So why not do it different? You know, I always think about that with people that like commit suicide. It's like, if you're that miserable that you would actually end your life, you know, there's a way to end your life and still live. And, you know, we know about it. It's the death of the self, the death of the ego. It's like, why don't you just quit living for yourself and live for other people? What if you just served other people? Like, and I understand, I mean, psychiatric mental disorders, and, you know, I'm pretty sure I have a couple of them, but it's just that thought of like, man, if you're giving up, if you're gonna give up like like your whole life, why don't you just give up yourself and stay alive? Like, then you'll be useful to people. Take suggestions, do things differently, just like a living sacrifice is what the Bible talks about. So it's just this point of neutrality, you know. It's this place where, and the book talks about this too, this place of neutrality. It feels like, you know, we don't crave our addiction anymore. It feels as if it had been removed from us, that we were placed in a position of neutrality where it was take it or leave it, you know, where we're in a place where we can make good judgments, you know. We're no longer pulled in one direction or the other. Everything's just even, and we see the world differently, and we see like the freedom to make different choices, you know. So surrender is what I'm after. I just realized this because I've been chasing motivation. And chasing motivation is just chasing a high. But surrender is just like, man, fuck it. Like, fuck it, dude. Just do it. Like, just do what you're supposed to do. Surrender to the reality that if I'm going to be healthy, I can't eat fucking sugar all the time, and I can't eat processed foods, and I'm going to have to eat the shit that God made for us to eat if I want my body to work that way, you know. And I throw God out there very, like, irreligiously, but it's eat the stuff that's natural, you know. If I'm going to be strong and healthy, I'm going to have to exercise. Just surrender to it, you know. If I'm going to be a good husband, I'm going to have to do some things for my wife, and be more considerate. Be like, fuck it, just do it. Like, nothing sucks like a life trying to live on your own. So we don't need the motivation. We don't, you know, and that's what we learn. We learn that with amends too. Like, I don't go into an amends to get something back. If we'd stop just like getting something back, getting something out of everything, shit, we would be so much happier. We'd be so much freer, you know? So anyway, throw that in your pocket, and you know, maybe it's something you can use where when you find yourself lacking motivation, stop looking for motivation. Look at surrender, you know, give up that, you know, because I think the loss of motivation or the lack of motivation is the perspective or the belief that I'm not going to get anything out of it, or what I'm going to get out of it is not something I want. All that shit's connected. So just shut up and surrender is basically what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to do.